Hi everyone, welcome back to the individual taxation classes. This class is in continuation of individual taxation part 2 which we have discussed earlier. In this particular video, I'll be walking you through with the penalties for underpayment of taxes, then installment tax payment method, and then we'll do some practice question. So let's dive into for more detail. Hi everyone, welcome back. So before we went on a break, we were discussing ways to make the payment. So we have covered all the 5 ways to make the payment, and then we touch base on credit of overpayment also, right? For that we have taken up an example like 12,000. Let's say the previous year you have made the payment, but actual amount due was 10,000. So $2,000 which you have excess paid in previous year, that you can claim either as a refund or maybe adjustment in the next year payment of taxes. That is called credit of overpayment. Withholding tax, like we have discussed earlier also, it's very much similar. The amount which is directly deducted by the employee, deducted from the employee incomes or earning by the employer and paid to the government directly as a part of the individual tax liability. Same as, like most of us are working. So in India, if I say like deduction of TDS, same way in US is called withholding taxes, which is being deducted by the employer and deposited by the employer on behalf of employee for making the salary or wages income, right? So wages paid along with the amount withheld are reflected in W2, which we have discussed earlier also. And you also have like the W2 form format also, which I have shared with you in very first class, right? So there you just, after this class, just go through all W4, W2, 1040, 1040, R, and all those forms which we have shared with you in very first class. So that will help you to make this theoretical understanding which you are building in class to practical reality, how you need to deal with this respective form and how you need to apply these theoretical knowledge in the practical world, right? So that is about like withholding taxes, very simple. Next thing is penalty for underpayment of taxes. From like last one and a half hour we were discussing about like what are penalties for underpayment of taxes. What exactly is those penalties are and who all are being exempt from that penalty. So penalties will be levied on underpayment of estimated taxes. For example, like in earlier section we have discussed about the payments on the due dates, like methods of payment, if you remember here also, and the earlier section where we have discussed all this due date for making the payment, right? For example, if $5,000 is due to be payable by April 15th, right, and if you make the payment after April 15th, then you need to pay interest and penalty for that particular period for which you are delayed. And if you are making a payment, let's say in the next year January directly, and you are not making any payment on any of the installment, then you need to pay the interest as well as penalty on the respective installment which is due and the respective amount which is overdue, right? That is called like interest and penalty provision, but there are certain exemption to it. So what are the exemptions? First one, if you see, the withholding tax and estimated tax payment which you have already made are more than or equal to the previous year tax as per the tax return. That means, for example, if previous year tax payable was, let's say, $10,000, and in current year you have already make a withholding taxes and estimated tax payment of $10,000. So in that case of scenario, no penalty or interest might be levied on you. And the tax paid all required estimated tax payment on time. Second scenario, when you are not required to pay any penalty for underpayment, is overdue tax payable is less than or equal to 10% of the tax payable in current year. For example, if current year tax payable is, let's say, $20,000, and you have already made a withholding tax or estimated tax payment of, let's say, $19,000. So the short payment is only $1,000, which is how much? 1000 divided by 20,000. How much is the percentage?
5%.
5%. So that is less than 10%. So if the overdue amount is less than 10%, then also no interest or penalty is required to be paid. Right? Third scenario is when the tax payable, let's say $20,000 minus withholding tax, let's say $15,000 is a withholding tax, minus estimated tax which you have already paid, let's say $4,000, right? $4,500 is equal or less than $1,000. So what it means, for example, you have total tax payable $20,000, and you have withholding tax of, let's say, $15,000, and you have estimated tax paid, let's say $4,500. So what it means, third point, if you see, it says tax payable 20,000 minus withholding tax, which is how much? 15,000, right? Minus estimated tax payment, which is 4,500, right? How much is the balance? $500, right? This 500 is less than 1,000, then you are not required to pay any penalty. But if instead of, let's say, this 4,500, if it is, let's say, 3,500 and due was 1,500, then you need to pay interest and penalty. Make sense?
So I need to pay penalty on still 1,500 or 1,000 minus 500, 1,000.
Entire 1,500. When it is payable on the entire amount.
Okay.
Very good question. Right? Fourth point is previous tax year was a full 12 months and taxpayer had no liability in the previous year. So previous year there was no tax liability. That means your taxable income was less than the threshold limit. Fifth point is when taxpayer current year tax payable minus household employment tax is less than $1,000. So then also no penalty or for underpayment of taxes eligible. Any doubt on any of these 5 points? All good? Shall I jump on to the 7th point? Shall I remove this? Yes, no? What's up? You guys got busy in?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So next is installment of tax payment. So have you heard this term before? Installment of tax payment? Installment of tax payment says the taxpayer can enter into an agreement to pay tax dues in installment basis. For example, if you have, let's say, 10,000 estimated tax payable, let's say 12,000 estimated tax payable, you can get into an agreement with the IRS by filing a form 9465. So form number is 9465 and submit to the IRS, and then you can request the IRS that I will pay the taxes in an installment method, let's say $1,000 each month, right? And if there is any overdue on that, you just need to pay interest and penalty, but not for the entire amount. So this is also like, flexible payment plan they have to make sure like people are paying the taxes on time. Now it's time to do some practice question. First question, which statement pertaining to estimated tax payment is not correct? So out of these 4 statements, you need to identify which statement is incorrect basically. First one says an individual whose only income is from self-employment will have to pay estimated tax payment, right? For example, if you are a sole proprietor and you are earning at your own, so do you need to pay estimated tax or not? Yes, no.
No, sir, no. We are
Why?
not, because I have a self-employment income.
So
I have a, no, I am a self-employed person and I am not a salaried income.
so what? For example, if you are, let's say you are a professional, you are an enroll agent, let's say, and you are earning $100,000 in a year as a profession. So do you need to pay estimated tax or not?
I think no.
Why?
Absolutely, sir. If I am engaged,
Why not, Sachin sir? So if you are having taxable income, then you have to pay taxes on time, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So what is estimated tax? That means estimating the tax for the year and making the payment on due date, which we discussed earlier, like 25%, 50%, 75%, 100% on
Okay.
15th April, 15 June, 15 September, and 15
Okay.
January. Right? So first option is right option, right?
Okay.
So what we need to select? Incorrect option.
Okay.
Second is if insufficient tax is paid through withholding, estimated payment may be necessary. So remember that example of Rajat, which we have discussed, in which Rajat's employer has to pay 978 withholding tax, but he was deducting 678, $300 short every month. Does Rajat was required to pay estimated tax in that example or not?
Yes.
Yes, everyone. Vivek, Vikas,
Yes, sir. Yes.
do you remember that example in which like the total tax payable was $8,800 for 9 months, right? So employer has withheld less tax. So it is being responsibility of the Rajats to pay the taxes,
Yes,
right? So the second statement is also correct. Make sense? Huh? Shubham,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Vikas. Okay. So third point is estimated tax is used to pay not only the income tax, but self-employment tax and alternative minimum tax as well, right? So when you calculate the estimated tax, you calculate to make the payment of income taxes or your self-employment taxes, or if your taxable income is less than the threshold, then alternative minimum tax as well, right? So the objective of calculating the estimated tax is to identify how much tax is being payable to the government, whether it's normal income tax provision or the alternate minimum tax provision, whatever it would be, right? So you need to make the payment on a due date. So third statement is also right. Any doubt on third statement or any clarification needed?
no, sir.
Right? Rajat, Garima, Divya. Got it?
Yes, sir.
So fourth point, it says estimate tax payment are required when the withholding tax are greater than the overall tax liability. If your withholding tax is $12,000 and your estimated tax liability is $10,000 only, do you need to pay additional tax? Are you getting fourth point? So
Yes.
fourth point,
No, sir. No.
right? Exactly. So if you have already made more payment through withholding tax, then no additional tax requirement to pay, right? So hence the fourth point is incorrect. So what was the call of the question? Which statement pertaining to the estimated tax payment is not correct? So call of the question is not correct, right? Are you all agree to the fourth point?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now next question is for you guys. So I have already explained first question. Now second question you need to.
कमल जी सर ये जो ब्लैक बोल्ड किया हो ना ये हटाना पड़ेगा
Blackboard कहाँ है?
ये जो 4 ऑप्शन में किया हुआ है ना पहले माइंड वही चलाया था
Okay, okay. We'll take care next time. Okay. So second question is, no estimated tax payment are required if enough tax is paid through withholding to keep the amount owned with the return. So what is the call of the question? No estimated tax payment are required if enough tax is paid through withholding to keep the amount owned within the return. So when no estimated tax payment is required. So if I simplify the question, out of these 4 options, when no estimated tax is required to pay.
Yes, sir. Option number 4.
Oh, that everyone knows option number 4. But what is the reason? Why not first, second, and third? For nation is interested to know why not first, second, and third. Fourth, everyone knows is correct answer.
because it should be less than $1,000
Yes.
तो
It should
वो तो
be-
सर वो तो पहला ऑप्शन भी यही कह रहा है टू बी
no, first option says 1,000 or less.
और
But fourth option clearly mentioned under 1,000.
हाँ जो आपने एग्जांपल बताया था अभी
Yes.
500.
Yes, it should be less than 1,000, not equal to 1,000. Right? Make sense, everyone?
Yes.
Shubham?
Yes, sir.
So third question. Violet made no estimated tax payment for current tax year, because she thought she had enough tax withheld from her wages, right? In January following year, that means next year January, she realized that her withholding was $2,000 less than the amount needed to avoid any penalty for underpayment of estimated taxes. So she made an estimate tax payment of $2,500 on January 10 of the following year. We filed her current year tax return on March 1st of the following year, showing a refund due to her of $100. Which of the following statement is not true regarding the estimated tax penalty? So here, first you need to understand the question. Second, you need to understand the call of the question. Call of the question is which statement is not true, right? Don't get into a trap to identify the true statement. We need to identify which statement is not true. And what is the question? Question says, Violet, she was assuming that her employer is deducting appropriate taxes, withholding appropriate taxes, but in the month of January, she realized she has withholding tax of less than $2,000, and on January 10th, she has deposited 2,500 to the best of her estimate. And then on March 1st, when she is filing the final return, the tax liability was $2,400 and $100 was refund, right? So this is like the question. So now all of the question is, which statement out of these 4 is untrue?
Option number 1, because sir, as her estimated tax liability with was $2,000, and she and it was not like it was not um, fixed like it was of which quarter. So she made the payment on January 10, but like if it was of the last quarter, so she can payment on the January 10th, but it is not fixed like it is of which quarter. So she made the payment in the next following year, but so I think the option first, right?
Yeah, no, that agree with your explanation, but why not second, third, and fourth? Let's evaluate that also. So second point says, if we own a penalty for any quarter, the underpayment will be computed from the date the amount was due to the date the payment was made. Why this is wrong answer? Why this is wrong answer? If you see, she has identified the underpayment in the month of January and due date was 15th January and she has made the payment on 10th January. So this point is not at all valid for this context. Right? Make sense? No?
Yes.
Vivek, Sachin, Vikas, Mayank,
Yes, sir. Could you please go again, sir?
say that again.
Sir, can you please say that again? So I was not able to
So
get that.
second point, if you see, it's not tying to the context of the question. In the question, it says she identified the short payment of $2,000 in January and she has made the payment on 10th of January, that is before the due date. If she would have been made the payment after the due date, then probably second point might be considered. But here she has made the payment before the due date, hence second point is invalid.
Okay.
Not valid in context of the question.
Yeah.
Right? Third point is we will not own a penalty for a quarter ending December 31st because she made sufficient payment before 15th January of the following year. So that is a correct statement. Right? So we need to identify not true statement. What is the call of the question? We need to identify not true statement. Right? Make sense? Coming to the fourth point, we could own a penalty for one or all of the three quarters, all of the first three quarters, even though she is due a refund for the year. So if the payment was short, then she could have been liable for interest and penalty for all the respective quarter, even though she has a refund because she has made the payment at the end. So that is also a correct statement, right? So second, third, and fourth are correct statement. Whereas if you see the first statement, we will not own a penalty for any quarter because her total payment exceed her tax liability. That is incorrect because she was supposed to pay $2,000 more, but she has paid at the end
For
only.
all the 3 quarters, even though she is due to refund of the
फोर्थ पॉइंट का एग्जांपल के संग एक बार बता देंगे
So maybe like this I'll explain through an example only. So here, look at this. So let's assume she has total, one second. Let's assume total tax payable is, let's say, $1 to 12,000. Let's assume total tax payment is 12,000 and till December withholding tax was $10,000. And she got to know she has short payment. How much? $2,000, right? So this $2,000 is more than the minimum limit when interest and penalty is not levied, that is $1,000. Hence, the interest and penalty will be levied on her, right? So this $12,000, let's assume 25% of that she need to pay on when? April 15, right? 50% of that she need to pay on June 15. 75% of that she need to pay when? September 15, and 100% will be payable on Jan 15, right? So what is 25% of 12,000? 3,000, right? And 6,000 and 9,000 and 12,000, right? This is what she's supposed to make payment. Are you guys agree with me? Huh? Vikas, Vivek, Sachin, Mayank.
Yes,
Are you
sir.
guys
Yes, sir.
so far agree
Yes.
with me?
Yes.
Whereas she has made a payment of $10,000. That means 2,500. That means 5,000. That means 7,500. Here 10,000. Right? And here she paid 2,500 extra before the due date. Right? So in these 3 quarters, she was in default. Short payment of $500. Right? Short payment of $1,000. Short payment of $1,500. Right? For these 3 quarters, she has to pay penalty. Yes or no? Are you guys with me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, she has paid, make short payment of 500, 1,000 and 1,500. For these 3 quarters, she need to pay the penalty, right? So now look at first option. What it's saying, we will not own a penalty. So this statement is incorrect. She has to pay the penalty on 500, 1,000 and 1,500 based on the rate applicable of penalty. That's the reason first statement is incorrect. So what we need to identify? Not true statement, right? Do you remember? Not true statement. The first statement is incorrect. Second statement is, if we own a penalty for any quarter, the underpayment will be computed from the date the amount was due. The answer is yes. Underpayment is always being calculated from the date of payment, due date of payment till the date of payment, right? So interest or penalty on this $500 will be starting from April 15 to Jan 10 when she has actually made the payment, right? For this, it will be starting from June 15 to Jan 10 when she has actual made payment. This is from September 15 to Jan 10 when she has actually made payment. So this will be the period for which penalty will be liable. Make sense?
Yes.
Third point, it says we will not own a penalty for the quarter ending December because she made a sufficient payment before January. That is right. Right? For the last quarter, the due date is 15th January and she has made all the payment on 10th January. So hence, this statement is also correct. Right? Last statement also we discussed earlier. We could own a penalty for one or all the 3 quarters, even though she is due a refund. So first 3 quarters, even though she has a refund, but she need to pay the penalty. So that statement is also right. Make sense, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Vivek,
Yes.
Sachin, Mayank.
Clear, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Shall I remove this? Shall I
Yes, sir.
remove? Okay, so these are certain practice questions.